Hello, this is Vexx, and welcome back to Tyranny. In our last video, we entered the Scarlet Chorus camp, where we got a quest to help them with some recruitment, and we also spoke with a new party member, this elderly gentleman, Lantry. Let's start off with actually leveling him up. Now, Lantry, well, he's actually leveled up twice in the prior to joining us, I should say. Now, Lantry, as you may have noticed from that last battle, is a mage type character, and he's actually one of the stronger mages in the game. So, as such, I'm going to increase his cooldown right away by 2 skill points, so he can be better at his magic. Now, in his skills, you'll notice he actually has 3 talent trees, which is unique, or at least now it's unique, as both Verse and Barrack only have 2 each. He has his preservation skill tree, which deals with healing a bit and giving himself some extra defense. It also gives him a special buff to his to certain magic skills, like this gifted healer, which is control life. It's a healing spell, which is pretty awesome. His quill skill over here is gives him buffs to his own unique weapon, that quill dagger that we mentioned in speaking with him, and Sage, which is mostly for his magic skill. As I mentioned, Lantry is one of the best magic users in the game. In fact, he is able to have the most spell slots of any character. Not positive about this, but maybe even more than our Fatebinder. In fact, which one is it? This one. Learned Instructor skill, which we're not going to be able to put any points into, actually gives all party members an extra spell slot while he's in the party. At least I think it's just when he's in the actual party. So, seeing as I like to use magic, that's a pretty awesome skill for him to have. So I'm going to start him off anyway in the Sage skill. This first one gives us this Watcher's Judgment, which lets him strike the target, interrupting them and lowering their non-physical armor. So magic armor, which is pretty awesome. And then I will give him a bonus to his lore. Yeah, that's what I'll do for Lantry. I haven't done any spells for Lantry yet, but you'll notice he starts off with the same amount of lore as we do, which is pretty awesome. Now, in between videos I will give him magic, attack magic and all, because right now he just has the healing and buffing spells, I should say. I don't really use the buffing magic in this game. Maybe I actually should, but I've never really found much use in it personally. But I'm going to start off with actually talking with Lantry. Lantry stops his stride, despite the fact he wasn't moving, darting his hands about his brandular and belt as he softly melts off a mental inventory of his inks and quills. When at last assured his possessions are in place, he looks up at you with a smile. What might I do for you? Well, let's start from the top and work our way down. If we're going to be traveling together, I'd like to know more about you. An understandable request. Let's see. Born in Sunder, no kids, with a few longings of fatherly love. I've got in my heart are satisfied by taking care of carrier birds. Interesting. Learning my sigils and spells about 30 years back, and being able to defend myself has opened a lot of opened a life of field study, and haven't grown tired of the wandering just yet. I have written on all manner of subjects: magic, birds, language, geometry, but my main focus has been chronicling. I found there's no finer pursuit than recording the events of our times. There will always be legends of what happened. Someone ought to take note of the real thing. Aside from that, I don't know. I practice centering stands, draw portraits, make my own inks, and have a sharp aversion to autobiography. I'm about as boring as watching coral grow. Oh, he has a very interesting look about himself. Well, let's ask him how he ended up in Vedrian's Well. When the Valium Citadel was set aflame by Kairos' edict, I fled as fast as my knees would carry me. Every direction seemed a bad idea, but heading to Vedrian's Well seemed the least suicidal option. Mind you, I was laboring under the misconception that the Vedrian Guard had surrendered, and the fighting in the valley had stopped. Looking first at his left arm, then his right, he reads through the assorted notes inked across his skin. Oh, he draws on himself and writes on himself. That's not eccentric at all. Ah, yes, 7th of Sparring. That's when I crossed the mountains. That would be 2 days? 3 days after the Vedrian Guard jettisoned their surrender and claimed the citadel in the valley. The Vedrian Guard nabbed me and several other sages moving through the valley. The other sages were sympathetic to the Vedrian Guard. As for me, I disagreed so as not to get everyone killed. I think to find the Overlord is a really slow and stupid form of suicide. That's probably very pragmatic of him. And smart, actually. Well, let's ask him about his work with these Oathbreakers. The Vedrian Guard has several noble-born in their ranks, and they know their letters. Problem is, they've come from noble houses scattered across the realms, each with their own private script. That's where the sages and I came in. Between us, we're familiar enough with all the regional scripts to translate and coordinate. Oh, that's gonna make working together harder if every noble house writes differently. But translating is child's play, so I might have helped out a bit more. The old citadel at the center of the valley is a crumbling affair, and there's no time for proper construction. Seems a crime not to put my magic to work. Oh, you helped them rebuild the citadel a bit. That's could be borderline treason. I won't tell if you won't, though. Okay, what did you learn of your plans and your time there? Of their plans, sorry. It won't surprise you to know their strategy is largely non-existent. They cling to the hope that their example will inspire others in the tiers to come into the valley to join their cause. The recent inaction between the Archons has emboldened them. Some even think the Archons fear the Vedrian Guard. I'm sure they have that quite wrong. Yeah, I'd say so. They're just fighting amongst each other, so they can't really move forward. What else can you tell me about the Oathbreakers and their forces? The Vedrian Guard surrendered back in 429, and while a lot of them were conscripted into the chorus, 3 of their leaders, Captains Ari, Matani, and Florian, never turned themselves in. Instead, they hid in the valley, gathering up what resistance they could until they challenged the local garrison. At highest count, early in the year, they numbered over 400, their ranks swollen by soldiers of Haven and Azure that survived the war. They are a dying breed, these Oathbreakers. Most in the tiers have finally come to realize that Kairos has already won. Because he really has. And before you ask, as connoisseur of the inevitable, I've made my peace with the Overlord and bow to his might. Well, that's definitely good. He knows his place as a servant of Kairos. And I guess you can say as a servant of us, as he works with us. So let's ask him. So you provided military aid to the Oathbreakers? Oh, we gained fear for that. When the servant of the Archon of Justice asks me that question, I can't help but assume it's the antecedent to some sort of punishment. I can't deny that I assisted the Oathbreakers, but the alternative was to starve in a cell and maybe lose my head. I realize that is an offense to the Overlord, but it's not like I increased their odds of winning in any significant way. And we got a few choices here. We can say intent matters. We are doing what we need to survive. We can just glare at them. So, you're an expert with fortifications, or personal survival does not exempt one from observing the laws of Kairos. Let's ask him if he's an expert on fortifications. Hardly, but I am an expert on preservation magics. The same cantrips we use in the School of Ink and Quill to preserve our manuscripts, except against worms and decay are, in principle, as acceptable to stone as they are to parchment, plus or minus some improvisation. Oh, so he improvised to help them build some fortifications. That's a interesting way of going about things. Let's just glare at him. No, let's say intent matters. He didn't want to help them, but he kind of had to survive. Oh, that gained us some loyalty back. Well, I trust my future actions will show I mean to be of service, not a source of a problem. I'd say that so far he's actually helped us. He did help us find out where the Oathbreakers are kind of hiding, or outside of the Citadel anyway. Let's ask him, how did he end up as a prisoner of the Chorus? I had to send some missives, and that meant getting to a clearing where my terns and doves might find me. The patrol with me was ambushed by the Scarlet Chorus. I tried to flee the scene, but some youngster tackled me, and, well, out of one fire into another. That's been a running theme this year. Well, he definitely seems lively. Let's ask him about his magic. Oh, I don't much like to brag about things like that. We're not asking you to brag. I'm asking you to tell me what you can do. My major area of focus has been preservation, concealment, and healing. Arts that have served me well in this newfound life as a herpetic prey animal. I don't know what that means. This stage is all study all kinds of magic, but as a chronicler, I wanted magic that would help me see more, archive more, protect objects of historical value. Seeing as I feel like an old relic in need of some protection, my skills suit me well. Let's see if you can teach us anything. Sure. I can show you how to blend your own inks, train birds to think you're their mom, and how to turn a goat into parchment. Oh, pleasant. But I'm sure you'd prefer to learn some magic. Yeah, definitely. If the School of Ink and Quill still mattered, I'd be more tight-lipped. But if we're going to be traveling together, you should know how to mend wounds, especially if I'm killed. I know, the edict still looms, but if you have a few hours, I could show you the basics of healing magic, or at least how I learned them. Oh, perfect. He's going to teach us how to cast healing spells. That's perfect and awesome, and definitely something we could use. We can say, no time like the present. I would be honored to learn what little you know. Well, he definitely like that one. Or, times of the essence. This can wait. I very much disagree with the third one. Healing magic is always welcome. Let's say we'd be honored. We gain loyalty for that. Rummaging through his satchels, the sage produces a long quill and crumpled piece of parchment. With 7 quick strokes of the quill, he inks a pattern on the page. We'll start with the first principles. When mending wounds and erasing pain, we invoke the magic of the orphan midwife, Archon of Rebirth. By invoking her sigil, we channel her mastery, however briefly, through our own hands. Now, trace the sigil, following the lines in this order I sketched them. We can just follow his instructions. Oh, as a war mage, we can follow along and say, "Trust me, I'm a natural in this sort of thing." Oh, we can ask him about the Archon of Rebirth, or just say, "Can we do this later?" Well, I don't. I want to do it now, but let's ask him about the Archon of Rebirth. Didn't realize you gave a care about our history. Well, the orphan midwife was born in 160, bowed to Kairos in 201. Oh, she joined Kairos. They say when she walked, plants would sprout, the sick would grow vigorous, and she also sent many folks into fits of rage and animals into heat. She sounds like quite a riot. We know her magic by the way of one of her first disciples, who migrated to the Tiers in 222 to spread her wisdom. An act of that an act that happened to be illegal under Kairos' law. For that a host of other transgressions, the orphan midwife has been imprisoned for over a century, or so the story goes. Well, it sounds like Kairos doesn't like to share knowledge, which isn't the greatest of ideals, but it does mean him and his chosen would remain strong. Anyway, let's use our war mage background to follow along and say we're a natural. Oh, we gained both fear and loyalty with Lantry. Oh, youth and confidence. Where you find one, you often find the other. And let me tell you one thing I know for sure. Hubris and magic don't mix. Still, if you're eager to learn, that's music to my ears. Since this isn't your first cantrip, I'll move a little quickly, but I think you can keep up. Lantry walks you through countless repetitions of the signing of the mystic sigil. For hours, you wave your hand in the air to no effect, until, at last, you sign the pattern in the air and feel a rush of power through your veins. Oh, we gained 5 points of control life, and you'll notice it really did take a few hours in game, as it's now dark. And so if you need to heal pain as opposed to purge an infection, you move your hand like so. But that's enough for now, and I think the rest you can figure out on your own. Alright, now we are able to actually make healing spells. Just like the attack magic I mentioned giving to Lantry, I will give healing spells to all of our party that can use it anyway, in between videos. Let's ask them about the sages. For hundreds of years, the sages have been devoted to the collection and preservation of knowledge. We are scholars, bookmakers, archivists, and students of the mystic and mundane alike. The wisest of our guild, not that I truly belong in that category, are versed in sigils and spellcraft. Or that's at least how it used to be. With the destruction of the Velium Citadel, the sages have been scattered to the winds. There was once more sages than I could name. Many have died or been taken prisoner by Kairos' forces. Yeah, we kind of were involved in the Velium Citadel. Let's hope he doesn't ask. Let's ask him what he knew of the Velium Citadel. Lantry scowls, his writing hand becomes unusually still. I once felt a rush of pride at the name. Now it's a blight on our reputation. Lantry clears his throat, reasserting his smile. The Velium Citadel was a beautiful sanctuary of parchment and ink. We had amassed knowledge from the Northern Empire to the coast of the Tiers. It would take a score of lifetimes to learn all the Velium Citadel could teach you. But the sages in charge of the Velium Citadel thought themselves above Kairos' rule. The Overlord learned the sages were copying and spreading lies and forbidden knowledge. Kairos put an end to the Citadel with the Edict of Fire. Lantry stops, putting a hand to his face. All that knowledge set aflame. When we bind books, we bind them to last. Our most important tomes were warded against fire and other maladies. Lantry scowls. So many of the books remain intact as the shelf and floor melt away. I suppose it's still there, if you want to brave danger and certain death for it. There's a good reason they call it the Burning Library now. He shrugs. Yeah, if you remember the description of the when we cast the Edict of Fire, a volcano kind of erupted beneath the library, and it still burns to this day. I don't know how long it's been in game time since then. I'm gonna guess at least a year, maybe more. But anyway, let's ask him who leads the school now. I keep learning more names of those who died during the Edict of Fire, so my information could be obsolete. But with Sage Krenvik incinerated, Sage Renata would be the current provost, and if she dies, well, fuck, thanks to all the recent deaths, maybe I'll be next in line. Let's archive that away under things we need to worry about later. In truth, there isn't much guild left to lead. Our library fortress is in ashes, our membership is in disarray, and it doesn't help that we have something of a spotty reputation here in the tiers. Fear of magic being something of a local specialty. Well, if everyone's afraid of this guild, yeah, there's not going to be many people that want to join it, is there? Let's ask him what his role was. I'm one of the chief writers of the Chronicle. It's our attempt to record the truth of all things in their proper sequence. It's the ongoing life work of generations of sages, and I have the honor of witnessing history and having my vantage point be a matter of record. Oh, that's kind of interesting. He writes things as they happen, and as such, his name will also go down in the annals of history. So, the sages don't bow to Kairos, but Lantry does. True, my peers can grasp many abstract concepts, but on the subject of hopeless wars, their stupidity raises to idiotic splendor. Sages believe themselves the mightiest magical guild in the tiers, and they could even back that claim. But they mistook being the best for being a match for Kairos. How it is so many can study so much history and learn so little. I have studied Kairos and the Archons in great detail, enough so that I am no longer blinded by fear of their magic. Oh, that's interesting. Nor by envy of their special gifts. To my mind, it seems like nonsense to bow to a mere king or queen when one can serve Kairos, the living embodiment of rulership. Well, that's definitely taking a good way of looking at things, as Kairos is law. I believe that's all we can talk about with him. Indeed, I have a finite appetite for discussing myself, and I'm more than satiated. No, stated. I don't know. Let us press onward. Alright, at this point, we are done talking with Lantry. And you notice we've learned a new spell core, the Sigil of Life, which is awesome. One interesting thing about the spells, specifically healing, is the close-up spell actually heals for more than the long-range spell, so that's what I'll be giving everyone. Let's see if Fifth Eye has anything more to say. The Fifth Eye, commander of the local Scarlet Chorus, surveys the camp, watching in stillness as all manner of violence and revelry occur around him. He offers a slight nod as you approach. Was there anything else? Didn't we already go over everything here? I don't think so. Let's ask what his role is. Well, the whole of this chorus remains loyal to the voices in the rat. I am truly the most loyal. His voice becomes wistful. Oh, so loyal, of his numerous warriors. Verse. He is a Crimson Spear, part of the Archon's inner circle. Dozens of the strongest gang bosses answer to him, and from there the others trickle down to the rest of the army. Sorry, the orders trickle down to the rest of the army. I am the Archon's martial retainer and humble servant. I am his eyes and his ears, but also his mouth, for I speak with authority that when he is absent, he twirls his flanged spear in his hand, and I am at his killing edge when the rabble is moved to war. Did you ask for this honor? I did not have to. The voices in Arat saw the need inside of me, and through his arcane manifestations, burnt away the clinging, cloying parts of me that foolishly resisted his enlightenment. Oh, Barrick's not kidding. Disgusting as I may find this creature, the fifth eye is not only the one who suffered changes in this service of war. Okay, I misread real briefly what Barrick said there, but it sounds like this fifth eye had quite the change. No, indeed, you ironclad behemoth. He looks Barrick up and down with interest. Have you ever considered jumping ship and enlisting with Scarlet Chorus? With strength like yours, we could have you leading a decorated gang in your first week. If I ever jumped ship, it would only be to sink to the bottom of the waves, beyond the reach of you and your parasite of an Archon. Well, we already know that Barrick does not like the Scarlet Chorus. Well, we're not kidding here. Good thing you mentioned loyalty twice, Fifth Eye. Now I'm really convinced. Fifth Eye stares at you, arms folded. He's not talking. Let's ask him, are all of the Crimson Spears as odd as you? I would not ask you to speak of other Fatebinders. I will not speak for other Crimson Spears. Verse. He's odd as fuck because he's an eye, not because he's a Crimson Spear. The Spears are a cold, determined bunch. Eyes are a breed apart, owning a fraction of the Archon of Secret's madness. Owning a fraction of the Archon's madness. Well, they definitely seem spirited. Yeah, let's go with that. Let's ask him, when did you take the vows of the chorus? Unlike most of the conscripts here, I did not need a cudgel against his head to see the wisdom of the Archon of Secrets. I proudly joined the chorus in its nascent days. I think that's like early days. Left my home in the bastard city to join the incoming chorus, and the rest is glory and history. These days, you follow the chorus or die. We who choose the path are killed to defend our place are the old guard. Even if it's been 2 or 3 years, the chorus has a short memory. She nods to the fifth eye with grudging respect. Well, we know that Verse likes the chorus as well. Let's see what the fifth eye knows about Ascension Hall. At the center of Edrin's Well, at the base of the mountain spire, he points to the northeast, where the spire cuts a vertical line rising above the mountains in the horizon, is a small fortification. Ascension Hall is the name of the citadel's inner chamber. We had left a garrison when this valley was first taken in 429, and the citadel being their base of operations. When the Oathbreakers staged their revolt, the garrison at Ascension Hall was defeated. It makes sense that Kyrus' edict would demand that we burn the rebellion back to its place of origin. Well, let's ask him what he knows about Graven Ash. At least that's who I think means by what do you know about his favorite commander. Either that or the Iron Marshal. Oh, yeah, Iron Marshal. The Iron Marshal is a doting warrior, just like the Archon of War. She's one of a few Selectus favorite, cautious, and cowardly enough to be trusted with the Archon's iron toddlers. No doubt her primarily qualifications include being related to Ash. The Legion's a little big into its pedigree. If you catch my drift, it sounds like they are almost inbreeders. Keep insulting my commander, and I will knock that mask off your face. Not that I'm eager to see what's inside. Now we can either tell Beric to stand down. We're talking to the Fifth Eye. Fifth Eye, are we here to cooperate, or snape at each other at every turn, or your mutual disrespect will be our unmaking? Do I need to discipline you both? That'll definitely piss off both of them. I'm gonna go with telling Fifth Eye to basically stop. Gain wrath with the Scarlet Chorus, but loyalty with Beric for that one. I suppose that depends on where you're standing, illustrious Fatebinder. The Fifth Eye bows. Not all of us enjoy the privilege of lawful objectivity. Some of us have had to endure this, cretins in their pitiful excuse for war. He nods to Beric. Enough! The Fatebinder is here because these debates have stayed in our hand for far too long. Say what you would of the Iron Marshal, if only so we can part ways and be done with this siege. Though I am loath to speak highly of her, I cannot deny that she's a brilliant swordsman, and the other disfavored seem to take her seriously, despite the serious stick they've propped up her backside. Now let's see. Ask him, who's the strongest? Verse. I am, naturally. Well, the Archon is, without question, the mightiest in the camp. Deathnail is the master trainer here, and she's also tough enough. She's almost tough enough to take me. She's a biter. Don't tell her I told you that. But she could be trusted in the fight and lead. And, well, her humility is lacking. Verse is correct. She's been running with the Furies even longer than Deathnail. Too bad that skill and puissance did not save her sisters. Oh, that's gonna anger Verse. Sounds like you're insulting my friend here. Do I detect a hint of fighting words in your voice? No humility. I'd like that in a fighter. Or what happened to her sisters? Well, we already know what happened to her sisters. Let's try and get on Verse's good side a little bit more. No humility. I like that in a fighter. Oh, Verse has a shred or two of decency. Just enough to keep you guessing. You two should get along like a couple of caged parrots squawking to each other over mutual delight. I swear the Fifth Eye gets barmier every time I speak to him. I don't know what barmier means. Let's ask him, is there a reliable quartermaster or peddler in the camp? Talk to Sniggler Dagos. Oh, that's an interesting name. He's wise enough not to steal from you, and he'll only cheat you a little bit. He's right over there. He points to the east. But he has the important honor of arming, trying to arm, all my merry little conscripts. So don't expect Kairos' army or anything. Alright, that's all we have to talk to the Fifth Eye about. Right at this point, I think I'll end the video here. We'll continue exploring the Scarlet Chorus camp and maybe make our way outside in the next video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys have a great day.